Hello, everyone. Long time no see. I am Michael Mroziak, one half of the broadcast crew for the Buffalo Junior Sabres of the Ontario Junior Hockey League. My partner, Jeff Boyd, has another obligation tonight, so he's unable to be here for tonight's broadcast. And joining me in the other window is Ryan Burgess, our public address and music guru, and Melissa Burgess, our social media guru. Melissa, first of all, happy International Women's Day.
Thank you.
And good to see you guys again. It was 1 year ago tonight. The Junior Sabres had finished up the first round of the OJHL playoffs. The Junior Sabres defeated Burlington, and we're waiting on dates against their second round opponent, the Oakville Blades, which then turned into a delay, or so we thought, which then turned into a longer delay. And then everything was off, and here we are.
It's been a year. That's probably the easiest way to put it. It has just been a year, and that statement is never truer than right now.
Feels like a lifetime. It really, really does.
Yeah, I mean, and I've been rewatching that game every so often because it was a microcosm, really, of what this team was made of. You come back, after you should have closed them out in game 5 up in Burlington. You end up having to come back here to home ice, so you have that going for you. Get out to a great start. You know, your jam guys, just past halfway into the period, they end up, that puck was in the corner for a good 40 seconds and the ref didn't blow, and it pops out and Kelly's backhand goes in. Then a power play goal later on. Fantastic movement from the second power play unit. Max Rojo got it started, found Leo Bax, who cut in. Alex Stimmis was driving the net and found the rebound to make it 2-0. I think we scored one more early in the second, make it 3-0. And then here comes Burlington with the couple of power play goals in the second period. I think that's what happened.
You are correct. Nolan Gurecki scored shorthanded just about 5 minutes into the second period, and then Harrison Cottom had the 2 power play goals for Burlington.
Right. And then I think Alex Cicero had the last goal later in the second period, and that was all the scoring.
And that's all she wrote. And then the handshakes, and we were even having some preliminary conversations with our friend and counterpart up in Oakville, Nick Fiore, about what was to come. Actually, before we go any further, I just want to tip my hat again to Burlington. That was a team that seemed to have Buffalo's number very early in the 1920 regular season. It beat us 10-0 to start out the year. When you thought, boy, oh boy, this is going to be that kind of a year, huh? And even heading into the playoffs, there were murmurs that, you know, after Buffalo defeated Burlington 2 seasons before, that maybe this was the upset special. The Cougars had it in them. So going into the series, it was nothing to take for granted. I thought Burlington was a very capable opponent. Buffalo, of course, you know, they got hot at the right time. They had a team that was gelling, made for a great series. Now, we'll be left to wonder how well that gelled group of guys could have fared against the Oakville Blades. We can only speculate at this point. But that'll be probably one of the biggest questions to ponder is, you know, what could have been in round 2.
Oh, absolutely. I think that Buffalo Burlington series, much like the season before when Buffalo took it in 7 games, most evenly matched playoff series in the first round of the Buckland Cup playoffs, maybe even the entire playoffs. Don't think there were 2 teams that match up better against each other than us 2.
Yeah, and I think just looking at the season as a whole, it was like night and day from the beginning of that season and that loss to just how much they grew as a team over the season. You could just tell when that things started to click, they started to work well together. We started to see some really good chemistry building. And then all of a sudden, you know, the end of the season, they looked like a really sharp group.
And of course, once we had the canceled season, then came the summer. There was some thought, well, maybe things will get better over the course of the summer, heading into the fall. Maybe we're off to a late start. Of course, shortly after the outbreak of the pandemic, the border closed and kept staying closed. They extended it month after month. And I don't know about you, but I think it was by late June, early July that I was wondering if that was going to be a problem. And sure enough, by late summer, uh, the Buffalo Junior Sabres and the OJHL announced that the Junior Sabres would be sitting out a season. They'd be a team staying in good graces, but it was pretty clear at that point the team was just going to be unable to play given the border closure, and the players got dispersed. And so not only were we saying goodbye to a good group of guys from 1920, there went the guys who could have built upon that heading into the season.
It was an off season. Well, it's still an off season of a lot of downs, but there were some ups to go along with it. A host of college commitments. Sutter Donegan and now Andrew Clouden to Cortland, Seth Benson to Sal Regina in Rhode Island, and of course Matteo Costantini to the University of North Dakota, who again ended up making our pandemic by getting drafted by our big brothers, so to speak.
Yes, and of course Alex Cicero just wrapped up his first collegiate season with Holy Cross.
Oh yes, Alex Cicero at Holy Cross.
He got a goal. Goodness gracious, good for him.
Yeah, and
then just to talk about commitments, we'd be remiss if we missed Luke Pavicic, who just committed to UMass Amherst.
Mm-hmm.
And then not from this season, but of course we have to shout out our boy Zach Nazarette, who has committed to Long Island University.
Mm-hmm. It's good to see Naz finally find, I think, a decent home for him, because
after everything with Alaska, that's hard.
Well, funny you mentioned Alaska, because that's where Luke Pavicic is right now, playing for Kenai River and doing very well for the Brown Bears of the NAHL.
Good for him.
Yeah,
that's what I said. I said good for him.
And one other former junior Sabre who did well at the draft, actually he was Mr. Irrelevant, but Declan McDonald is playing AHL hockey.
He made our night. Like
he really did.
Night 2 or day 2 of the NHL draft, of course, we had 5 eligible guys. Luke Tuck, I think, was the first one to go. He went in the second round. We had guys going rounds 2, 3, 4. No, Mateo was the 5th round.
Mateo's 5th.
5th round, and we get to the last pick, and Bill Daly is on, and he's thanking people behind the scenes, and there's some kind of technical difficulty, and we hear from off camera very faintly the name Declan, and we're like, is this about to happen? And sure enough, Tampa takes Declan McDonald with the last pick of the draft, and all 5 of our organizational alumni go.
But he's yet another lesson for all hockey players out there that even if you're picked in a lower round, even if you're that last pick, which gains the name Mr. Irrelevant, hard work will get you noticed. It will get you advanced. I mean, Ryan Callahan used to be my go-to example of the kid who was picked mid-range, mid-draft one year and ended up captain of the New York Rangers. Again, look at Declan McDonald now. He's playing in the AHL. He's got the kind of grit, and he's young. He's still growing and developing, and could well make the big roster in the not too distant future.
And the Tampa Bay organization development is fantastic. How many players do we see on the Lightning roster now that cut their teeth in Syracuse? It's a fantastic organization, a fantastic place to play in the AHL. And boy, he's getting his work cut out for him now.
Of course, I felt so bad for him because he had what we thought was his first AHL goal. We were happy. We put together, a little Twitter post celebrating it. And then, of course, they changed the scoring. So he did not get the goal, and he is still looking for that first actual AHL goal. But we have faith that it'll come eventually. Because
it's not a question of if, it's just when. And if he's getting himself involved in plays like that and having the point taken away, it just shows that he's putting himself in the right place to get those points. And it will only be a matter of time before he finally cracks through and gets that first point, that first goal in the AHL.
So I guess to summarize the past few minutes, we've we look back on the 2019, 2020, and of course, past editions of our Junior Sabres with fondness. And we, we hope the governmental administrations can come together. I believe it was Mr. Higgins who's been kind of prodding the Biden administration to, hey, talk about opening the border a little bit. Canada's important over here.
Yeah, Congressman Brian Higgins, our local representative, has been pushing to ease some restrictions on the border. Now, how that applies to junior hockey teams, well, you still got two governments that need convincing that that would be important enough to allow cross-border traffic to them. Buffalo being a lone team in an Ontario-based junior league might be a hard sell. We might have to stick it out a little bit longer. But now you've got the rest of the OJHL that's still on hold, and rosters have been blown up as a result of this. One of the fears heading into the season is while Buffalo sits out and has basically broken up its entire roster, some division rivals may have been allowed to keep some core players, build upon them, and had they been able to salvage some kind of a season, be able to keep building, which put Buffalo at a disadvantage going into the following season. Now, as you look at it, so many players have dispersed from other clubs to go to other leagues that we're playing. Every team is going to be building from scratch next year. So Buffalo, what could have been a terrible disadvantage, are still on the same level as their division rivals. It will be all wide open. Good luck trying to predict the divisions next year, because everyone's pretty much going to be building up from scratch again.
It's essentially 22 expansion franchises because everybody has to start from scratch, unless what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to look to their feeder organizations, their house organizations. I know general manager Nick Tozzolino and head coach Tim Kennedy. Yes, it still sounds kind of weird saying that, but they're two fantastic men for the job. And, they're going to be taking a hard look at the Junior Sabres teams and players that are under us to see who's ready to make the step.
And I think one player who we have to talk about in this discussion is Nolan Gurecki.
Yes.
He was with the OJHL team. This season, he is one of the captains of the 18U Junior Sabres. It's a phenomenal position for him. We got to see him in action. What was that, a month ago, maybe?
Yeah, a month ago.
Throwing some big hits and bringing the physicality that we all know and love from him to the game. And it's great to see him in that leadership role. And obviously, the Junior Sabres brass believes in him. So I think, I'm not sure how old he is, but I think he's still got some eligibility for the OJ. So definitely wouldn't mind seeing him back in a few years or a year.
Will be the centerpiece up front that the team builds itself around as it builds from scratch. They do have some talented players in the 18Us and the 16Us. So, Buffalo's coaching staff does know where to look downward. And and then of course, once things ease up, once more people get vaccinated, and once there's more comfort level from the government to allow players to travel again to try out for those clubs, one thing that the Junior Sabres has going for it is it's able to recruit from other parts of the United States, while Canadian rivals can develop players from within Southern Ontario and trade amongst themselves. The Junior Sabres have a whole United States of America from which to pick its players, and they've done it. They've brought in players from several states historically over the past few seasons. So I'm not terribly worried about being able to build a roster. It's just the challenge will be having to start from scratch. Tim Kennedy and Nick Tozzolino will have they're probably already doing a ton of homework trying to figure out who will be out there to be able to bring in for next season.
The best is yet to come. I think we just have to keep all of that in mind, that the best is yet to come. And, based on conversations that Melissa and I have had with some top Junior Sabres brass, like Patrick Coletta, who's running the whole show these days. Good for him, by the way. He's doing a fantastic job in getting our lower organizations actually skating and playing games again. It's fantastic to see. I can say probably with, well, what do you mean? Anything less than 100% certainty. When the OJHL Junior Sabres take the ice again, they will be the best dressed team in the OJ.
Yes. If it's up to Patrick, the Junior Sabres go back to the same royal blue pattern that the NHL team reintroduced this season. And that just feels right. And now, of course, I'm of the generation of the original blue and gold. I mean, I'm as old as the franchise is. I'm dating myself here. So I was always a blue and gold kind of guy. I know over the years, then they did the black, gray, and red, and then went to the navy blue. But I've always been the royal and gold at heart. So it'll be exciting to see them don the royal and blue again next season.
Well, that's what they were wearing. It's what the boys were wearing when I first started, believe it or not.
That is true. They were wearing like the 80s, 90s rendition of the original royal blue and gold back when we were playing back at the Northtown Center.
So back when Melissa was interviewing folks like Max Mikowski.
Yes. Back when I was on the other side of the media things. But speaking of media, we had a nice little chat with OJHL Images on Sunday morning, and some exciting things coming from them, and for the social media interaction with the teams coming in the next few seasons. So look for that soon.
Oh yeah, and in the coming weeks, look for more. I know over the course of the pandemic break, I'm connected on social media with a lot of counterparts who call the play-by-play for other teams throughout the OJHL. I know you have some contacts and friendships that have formed from that. We've stayed in touch. Eventually, as it looks like we might be able to return to the ice and build a new season, I imagine the conversations will start getting more serious about maybe setting some standards. Something I'd like to introduce are a few standards to introduce to all the broadcasters among the league. One of the things that worked well for Jeff and I was we'd approach the visiting coach before each game and ask for all the line pairings and line matchups, simply because you put the first line, second line, third line, put those numbers down. It's a lot easier for us to get the players' names by line instead of looking up and down a roster. It helps us do our job easier. More importantly, it helps get those players on the ice exposed if we can identify them more quickly. Their families, I'm sure, appreciate that. The scouts that might be watching the video certainly appreciate that. And I'm sure the players themselves appreciate knowing that that an announcer is able to get their name called right then and there instead of having to look at a sheet really quickly. So I'll probably get a little bit busy writing down a wish list and asking the league, can we see to it that, the coach at least just provides us some pairings? We're not asking them for strategic secrets or anything like that. And even one of the coaches teased me, gave us the lineups anyway and said, yeah, your coaches will probably figure it out anyway. But it's just little things that maybe the broadcasters can do and maybe convince the league to just kind of get like a sense of mutual cooperation. Likewise, if there's an out-of-town crew that comes to Buffalo, surely we'll give the pairings out as well, just to make sure that the broadcasters can do their job, because on the whole, it's really about improving the overall product for the league.
I remember the days, and it didn't happen as much while we were playing at Harbor Center, but I remember our friends in Stouffville from Whistle Radio used to come down every time the Spirit came down, and those games were live on the radio in Stouffville, which I thought was fantastic.
Oh, that's I mean, I'm a radio guy professionally, and I still have a soft spot for any kind of radio sports, not just hockey. And that'd be great if other communities up there can work out, getting games on the radio. Now, mind you, cost might be the thing. I mean, radio stations don't pay you to for the rights. I mean, at this level, you have to buy the airtime because the radio stations themselves have to survive. And so it's why you don't see us on the radio here in Western New York. That's just kind of beyond our budget. Now, if a big crate of untraced dollar bills falls out of the sky tomorrow, we squirrel them away, we can start maybe talking some ideas. But that's great that Stouffville's got a radio crew. It'd be great if any other markets within the OJ have a radio crew, but whether it's web or over the air, just the quality of the broadcast, I think, will be good for the league. And then there are some great voices, out there. Nick Fiore, Alan Corkum, who calls a great game. Yeah, I'm going to stop there because there are some guys that I'm sure, like Joe Montesano, guys that I don't want to inadvertently snub anybody, but they know who they are. And there's a great crew of OJHL broadcasters who are out there. And one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to is being able to even just say hello to them again.
That will be nice. I know I'm looking forward to saying hello to, some of my colleagues, and together, we're going to do what we can to get not just our kids in Buffalo, but everybody to the next level and help them succeed. Because if we succeed, the league succeeds.
Exactly.
And it's a great point, Michael, about the broadcast, because for the foreseeable future, I believe you won't see scouts at our games. I think it will be primarily video scouting for the next little bit until things are at a more manageable level.
Yeah, and that will be the other interesting question is what happens with in-house staff. I mean, how will they space us? Because at least for one season, at least we know till everybody is vaccinated, maybe they spread us out a little bit. Maybe Jeff and I have to work several feet apart from each other or something. Maybe he and I have to alternate games entirely. So, I mean, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but you raised some interesting questions right there as to even how game operations themselves will be managed, at least for the coming season, at least till we know that we're definitely out of the pandemic and folks are vaccinated and we're able to push through.
Well, I've got some ideas based on how Canisius has done their home games. So from what I've seen, I think you and Jeff will be able to call games next to each other like you normally do. Whether you're in the same spot that you normally are, that may change. But if anything, Melissa would probably just move one space to my left, which is where she's been for the Canisius games. And she shouldn't really have to move at all. We're same household, so.
Yeah, we do have that benefit.
And Jeff and I wear headphones, so if we have to stand several feet apart, at least we'll still be able to hear each other through our headsets. So it's not like we have to we're not without the means to be able to hear ourselves talk and think out there. And but again, I don't want to speculate either, but perhaps there will be some restrictions and things early into next season. I don't want to sound overly confident or cocky. I mean, I do like the odds that they'll be back on the ice, and we'll have some league hockey again by the fall. And I'm still, maybe some of that's just faith and hope too. But we've come a long way, and I think we've come along far enough where again, once enough people get vaccinated, I think there'll be more of a sense of maybe it's time we can try this again.
Well, until that happens, speaking if for you, Michael, and for Melissa here, we hope you are all continuing to stay healthy and safe. I still can't believe it's been a year since we've played a game. Wow. It's darn near unbelievable.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a favorite moment from that game they'd like to share, or a memory that you remember from that game?
I think it was just the feeling of being able to wrap up the round and know that we just took on a very tough Burlington opponent. The junior Sabres were firing on all cylinders. They had a new level of confidence. They did vanquish a tough opponent, and Oakville was coming next. But there was a different feeling, not really a cocky swagger, but certainly a new confidence that if we play these guys, they weren't afraid of them. They certainly were not afraid of the Blades. And I think there was a difference between the kind of confidence that they were showing and the kind of swagger which can come back to bite you and you live to regret. And I don't think it was the latter. And I think the boys really had the right kind of confidence going into the round. That I think was my feeling there, was that that second round was going to be a dandy. And I think that was the feeling that was going on in my mind as we came out of Game 6 against Burlington.
For me, it was experiencing the absolute lowest of lows at the start of the season, getting shut out in double digits, by these Burlington Cougars at the home opener, which was on my birthday. Did you not? What a birthday present, a 10-0 loss. But you know that you have to take that in stride, because you have to look at the facts. No preseason, because who's spending money on a bus to come down here to play us, and vice versa. You had, some key contributors, or guys who would become key contributors, out of the lineup, like Colby Seitz missed time, Logan Tobias missed time. Those guys ended up being key cogs in this team. And then, you start getting them back, and you start seeing us, still losing, but not by much. And then we start winning. I kind of started feeling secure when Colby Seitz popped that OT winner against Burlington as like a kind of revenge. And then we start racking up signature wins over Wellington, 2 over Oakville, including the OT one, a couple more OT winners against Georgetown and Milton, and then just end what we didn't know was the end, but just what ended up being the end, the highest of highs, vanquishing a playoff foe. And I just remember the optimism. But like you said, it wasn't cocky, but it was a confidence that was like, yeah, we can do this. And, had this kept going, I think we would have gone on a run. We might have got out of the second round for my first time ever.
That's what I was suspecting too. They had the faith in themselves. I thought they were more than capable.
Yeah, for me, I have 2 big memories from that day. One is Matt Hobbs absolutely going ham at the end of the game. And I commend him because, he absolutely went for it, knowing, hey, this is the end of my junior career. What else can happen? He knew they were going to get eliminated. He's aging out. Why not go for it? Sure. And then just, I had the fortune of being able to run down to ice level for the end of that game. So I, got to see the celebration on the ice right there and in the locker room when the boys came off the ice, and just the energy was just unreal. You could just tell that they were kind of surprised that they did this, but they did it. And they were also just, really looking forward to what was coming next. And I remember leaving the rink that day, and I think we were talking to Mateo, and they were going to practice at Northtown later that week because they were going to practice at the Olympic rink, because Oakville's rink is Olympic sized. So they wanted to get practice on that bigger sheet. And then, of course, everything imploded. But that's what I remember from that day, is that they were getting ready for Oakville, and they were ready to try out the Olympic ice and just give it their all.
And it became very real. It wasn't the cancellation of our playoff round when it hit me that this was real. It was when my kids had to come home from school and study from home. It's when I had to leave my newsroom office from downtown Buffalo and had to set up a studio in our back room. That's when it hit me. And then, of course, the playoff postponement followed. But that was probably when it was real for me. When did it become real for you two?
Melissa, go ahead.
Well, I think it was there was a Monday, I want to say, that I was at work, and it was a normal day. It was okay, just we're at work. And then it was, we're going to be closed tomorrow, but it's a 1-day closure only at this time. And we're going to evaluate from there. And then it was,
the end of March.
However many months that we were out, when it was only supposed to be this 1-day thing. And then it was okay, this is very real. 1 day turned into a week and 2 weeks and 3 months. And so, I think.
Did you have the belongings that you had left behind at your desk at the library, Melissa, that you wanted to have home and couldn't?
Yeah, I kind of remember, well, because we at least had the benefit of knowing that we were going to be closed the next day, I kind of, something in my mind told me what if this is something more? So I did take a bunch of my stuff at least, but then I felt bad because I had a little plant at my desk that I left behind. And I actually ended up having to come into the office maybe 3 weeks later to help with a project. And I said, screw it, I'm taking my plant home because I don't know when I'm going to be coming back and this thing's going to die without me. So.
My answer is twofold. The first indicator was when Letterkenny Live was postponed.
Right.
Because
that was
I was at work and it was on the day of, it was on. Even Kleinhans put out a release at 2:00 saying this is still on. And then 30 minutes before I leave work, it's off.
Yeah, so, I remember that. And I kind of remember seeing it like, really, it's still happening? Really? They're still going to try to do this? And I was like hoping kind of that they would cancel it because just you could tell that that's the way that things were going, that they weren't going to be recommending the gatherings and all that. And they finally,
I'm disappointed because I know we had in the back of our minds this thought, can we convince them to free up Dylan Playfair to visit the locker room? And maybe do and maybe even in character give a pep talk, you know?
Maybe next time. I mean, they'll have to come back. It was postponed forever, right? So
the timing was just right because they were in the GTA and then they were coming here right around the time the Oakville series would have started.
Yeah.
The other one for me that told me this was real was when the state high school athletic association said, we're still playing the state championships, but we're not going to allow any fans. And I got a call from my contact at the Lecom Harbor Center that said, if there's no fans, there's no reason for you to be here. So I'm like, well, I'm coming to get my computer then because I don't know when I'm going to be allowed back in this building.
Yeah.
I remember that day that we were together for some reason after I got out of work and you said, I want to go to the rink and get my computer because I don't know what's going to happen after that. And
Center to non-essential. I'm still holding on to a Junior Sabres laptop at home. I never had the opportunity to bring it back. So I'm still sitting on it a year later.
Somehow I don't think the powers that be mine. They know it's in good hands.
I don't think anyone's missing it. Let's put it that way.
I mean, luckily Melissa and I have come into a little bit more security. For those of you who are going to watch this on YouTube, the two of us are responsible for the entirety of the Buffalo Junior Sabres social media program. Mostly her.
Yes, and we did get to do a few Junior Sabres games at the younger levels. So.
Yep, I got a 9U game at 9:30 in the morning and I want to say 11U game at 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So
better than nothing.
The kids appreciated it, and whatever parents or whatnot were allowed to be there, I suppose also appreciated it. But that's where we are until we happen to hear things from the American and the Canadian governments with respect to the border. You know, we're still in a holding pattern, but we'll see what happens this summer.
That's right, we will, and we'll continue to prepare in anticipation of a 2021-2022 season, on the assumption we have to plan on the assumption that things will be able to smooth out. And when that happens, we also should mention just an adjustment in the Junior Sabres coaching staff. You mentioned Tim and Nick earlier, but we should clarify for those who don't know this news. They've tweaked their positions a little bit. Tim Kennedy is now the head coach, while Nick Tuzzolino is the general manager and associate head coach. Ryan and Melissa, why don't you take it further?
It's a fantastic move, I think, for the organization as Nick is growing and actually coaching his kids now as they're starting hockey. This move, I think, frees him up, for some additional time to coach and, spend time with his kids while still at the rink. And at the same time, bring along another fantastic hockey mind in Tim Kennedy, who has professional experience and knows what it takes to succeed. And that's what it's all about at this level, is teaching these guys and getting them ready.
But I do think that we should just add a little asterisk that we don't know for certain that that's going to be the coaching arrangement when the OJHL team returns to the ice. We cannot guarantee that at this point.
That's the staff as it exists right now, and Melissa's absolutely right. Things could change within the next weeks and months, but the structure as it exists right now is that. And lest we forget, Tim has been heading up the Junior Sabres player development and evaluations for the past couple of seasons. So Tim's definitely not new to the organization, and he's a good guy. He's a family man. His wife and kids have been to some of the games, and just a decent guy. And Nick's a decent guy too, and a couple of personalities. And good Lord willing, we'll all still be in the picture in one capacity or another this coming fall.
That's the plan. So to everyone else in the Ontario Junior Hockey League, we're still here. We're not going anywhere. We're still members in good standing. It was really nice to be included on the OJHL Images Zoom call with Tim Bates Sunday morning. There's some fantastic stuff coming down the pipeline that we can't wait to share with you. And just to not just the OJ folks, but to everybody, we hope you're staying healthy and safe. And this seems like a good place to cut it. Hopefully you won't have to wait too much longer to see us again on the ice.
That's for sure.
Ryan and Melissa, thank you for having me aboard. And for all three of us, folks, thank you for tuning into this latest Junior Sabres Journal chat. And be safe, wear the mask, and be smart about this, and we will get through this together. In the meantime, be safe. Have a great night.
Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
Stay positive. Test negative.